Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this video we're going to be looking at 1-2 alla Defendo. And what I mean by that is that during World War II, many of the people that were soldiers, that were sailors, that were airmen, that were home guard, that were police, that were SOE would have been culturally and sportingly aware and familiar with boxing, a lot more so than we consider today. Boxing was a lot more of a mainstream sport at the time. So young men and even some women would have spent a good amount of time learning and training in boxing and understanding how boxing works. It would have been something you see on, you would have seen it at the cinema, you would have seen it at shows, you would have gone to boxing booths as a child, so you would have gone to circuses and fairs, you would have put on some gloves and you would have done some rounds, and hopefully you would have won some money. You would have been more familiar with boxing than people ever would be today, via the media, via your own training, and then as a soldier, sailor or airman or other person involved in the forces, a huge part of physical training, PT, was again in boxing. So you've got all these people that are conversant in a really good delivery mechanism for power and force. Gets you used to taking hits, delivering hits, it wisens you up to it's better to hit people and not get hit, so it keeps you a bit cuter, keeps you a bit smarter, you'll have learnt the right body mechanics, and hopefully you can throw some shots. And the most basic of things that people learn is the 1-2. 1-2 is so ubiquitous that it's in our entire language. You know, when people that have never boxed in their lives, have nothing to do with combat sports, when they throw hands, when they pretend to box, what do? They go 1-2. They know the phrase 1-2. It's familiar. It's burnt into their minds. It's burnt into their social consciousness. So if you imagine you've got a huge amount of people that are at least conversant in the fundamentals of boxing. And that's very good and that's very important and absolutely vital, I believe, to building a holistic picture of World War II self-defense. You've got a lot of people that know how to deliver a decent jab, a decent cross, they know how to turn their hips, their shoulders, their feet into these shots, they know how to defend, they know how to cover, they know how to move somewhat combatively. But if we're talking pure defendo, a lot of people, or all-in fighting or gutter fighting, whatever you wish to call it, these people have to use their hands for many other tasks. They have to use their hands for sidearms, for long arms, for radios, for map reading, for every single task, sewing people back together. You need your fingers, your digits, your hands in fully working order. So even if you have the gross fundamentals of boxing and you can move and you can fire shots, hitting with the bare knuckle is a different ballgame. It's a different ballgame. And I know this, a lot of my study is around Bartitsu and pugilism, bare knuckle boxing orientated systems, and they have their own special ways of hitting people bare knuckle, which is a bit safer on the hand, but that is a learned skill. It's a learned skill in response to a sport. So it takes time, takes expertise, and it takes relatively fair conditions a lot of the time. All of these factors, people that were learning Defendo, a fast track of gutter fighting, a fast track system of combat, they didn't have time to hone those skills. Even if they had the rudiments, you couldn't rely on it. So you need to take that and apply it to things that are safer on the hands. And so what I'm going to show you in this video is a couple of replacement diets for your 1-2. I would advise anybody learning combative, learn to box, go to boxing gyms, get good at it, have fun with it, try and compete a couple of times. It's good for you. It's good for your mind, good for your soul, good for your body. But in any instance, that innate knowledge of a 1-2 is something you can draw out in pupils using more defender-orientated techniques, and I'm going to take you through some of my favoured replacements for them. So the first is nice and simple. We're going to go for an edge of hand blow. So we're going to use this hard bit of the palm, or indeed the forearm, depending on how close the opponent is. We're going to fire this straight into the trachea. From here, pulling strong from the waist. I always recommend practicing this from hands down and hands up, because most of the time our hands are down as human beings, or if we're being interrogated or we're being questioned, our hands will be down. It's a bit suspicious for them to be up. If they are up, they're typically up with purpose. So a more animated conversation, showing papers, checking the time, in more modern days, checking your phone. If your hands are up, it needs to look like there's a reason for them to be up, but oftentimes you might not have that reason and your hands will need to be down. So get used to firing these shots from the side. Best way to fire the initial edge of hand blow, ideally if he attacks from the side, that's brilliant. You can fire that straight in. But even if he doesn't, during the conversation you can just angle yourself slightly, subtly but slightly, and pull this like it's an obstinate lawnmower or chainsaw. really rip it up at 45 degrees, because then if he starts to get closer, I hit him with the elbow. So if he advances, the elbow clocks him. If he's mid-range closer, forearm will clock him. At extreme range, the edge of hand will get him. So either way, if I pull it like an obstinate lawnmower, whatever range I find him at, I get him. Even if it's front on, I have to angle myself somewhat, smash that straight in. So we've got, this is the equivalent of our 1. 1, 1. So our equivalent of our 2, in this instance, is going to be the edge of hand blow down on the collarbone. Bang! And this can come with a bit of a drop step to it. What I like is to practice stepping forward and stamping with it at the same time. So you get that drop of mass, but you also simulate and get used to crushing the toes, crushing the feet. So you get 2 blows for the price of 1. So, as a nice replacement diet for a 1-2. Edge of hand, edge of hand. 1 horizontal to the throat, 1 vertical to the collarbone with the stamp. And again, it can be from behind. It can be from the front. From the side. Either way, with either hand. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. But it flows into the natural ingrained pattern of the 1, 2. Same cadence, same speed, same power, safer tool. Another option you may wish to consider is the edge of hand blow into the chin jab. The chin jab, very close range, hard bit of the palm here, crashing under the chin, fingers and as an ancillary benefit into the eyes. Works well if you've got an attachment, but not 100% necessary, and you're rocking his head up and over. I've got a wall behind Bob, so my objective here, I'm going to do edge of hand blow at range. I'm going to crash into him, I'm going to jam him under the chin, and I'm going to get those fingers in his eyes, and I'm going to ram him into the wall. My body, being on his right hand side, also neuters his weapon. If he does have a sidearm, bang, bang, my body has smothered that sidearm. Drawing it is much harder for him now because my body is smothering that entire technique. And I can finish fucking that guy up. So from whatever range, edge of hand, driving close, chin jab. From here, smash him right into that wall. Right up into his face. From here, fingers into the eyes, this under the jaw, my body weight crashing into him. I want to knock him down, knock him out, knock him into things that will hurt. If there's nothing behind him, I want this head to go all the way back so he falls over. So 1, 2, and practice that from the front, boom, boom, from the side, boom, boom, from behind, boom, boom. Yep. When you're sat down, stand up and do it. There's so many variables for you to experiment with, but it's all to the same cadence as the very familiar 1, 2. From here, chin jab right into the face. Third option, this is especially kind of supported and endorsed by Sykes. Sykes recommended the re-inclusion of boxing. It's just changing the targets. Bear in mind, everything you can hit with force and power legally in boxing, you can also do to the throat, to the groin, to the kidneys, to the back of the head. There's many ways to make this very, very nasty, to gutter box. So, for example, you may wish to take the same 1, 2, alter it slightly. So if you're going for the throat, bare knuckle striking, I always advise a vertical fist when it's to a harder part, so especially the face, that kind of area, vertical fist. Bare knuckle boxers for hundreds of years, this is what they advise. They advise it for good biomechanical and safety reasons, vertical fist. So I'm going to smash him in the throat with the vertical fist, and then I'm going to smash him in the groin with the horizontal fist and a bit of a drop step. 1, 2. So I'm following the same 1, 2 methodology, just alternating the tactics for gutter boxing. From here. You'll notice that I'm driving my body weight behind it with more emphasis than a safer jab. You know, a safe jab, but I can do that over a number of rounds and cause cumulative damage or open opportunities. In this, I might only be able to get 2 punches before he draws a Luger and blows a hole in my chest. So I need commitment. I need to be knocking him off balance. I need to be driving into him. So 1, 2. always driving into him. It's not the sporting iteration, it's the attacking iteration. Bam! Straight to the groin. So, throat punch here, down there. Importantly, you need to be able to get used to doing this from talking hands, yada yada yada, bang bang. Here are my papers, bang bang. He's just bumped into me at the bar, bang bang. You need to be able to fire this from natural places with your hands doing seemingly natural things. Okay, then we're going to move into a slightly different version. So we're going to look at the finger jab into the knee, and again from a place of stealth. So looking at the watch, holding out papers, having a conversation, finger right into the eye, right knee into the groin. Same cadence as 1, 2, boom, boom, but now we're doing finger into the eye, knee to the groin. And then we're gone. Nice. And it's just about, I'm doing it a bit slower because the frame rate in this camera is very poor, but in reality, you're looking at closing the gap between bam and bam as much as possible. You know, as much as they feel to the opponent like they're happening at the same time, that's very important. So here, finger jab to the eye, knee to the groin. Nice and simple. You then may wish to consider something like tiger claw, moving into a chin jab. So at longer range, shit, he's going to pull something. He's going to call a radio, he's going to do something, so I need to get his attention. So I'm going to launch out this long range tiger claw. Get close to smother his weapon and smash him with the palm heel, but from this side, a more angular style chin jab, a more angular chin jab. So I'm just looking to smash him up. So 1, 2, I must smash him up here. And again, I could have an attachment, I could be holding an arm. Bob has no arms, so for illustration purposes, I'm just going to grab him here. And smash him right up into the face. So we're chin jabbing him from the opposite hand. I'm using my power hand for that long range shot, because I want this to have massive knockback ability. I step in to smother his weapon arm as I jam in that chin jab here. Smash, straight into his face. Boom, straight into his face, driving him, pushing him. As I mentioned, I've got a wall here, so I'm practicing driving his head in that wall, cover the weapon, draw the weapon, finish the man. Nice and simple. So, long range tiger claw, shorter range chin jab, still to the same cadence as bam bam, in this instance, wham, wham, from here. Okay? And finally, the thunderclap or the hitrouchi, the double ear slap. On the ears, some people do it on the throat. The aim is to damage the equilibrium of the opponent, make them dazed, so you can do something else. But if you vary up the cadence, instead of being, you are, so instead of 1, you are 2, you get better shake of the brain. If I do this at the same time, I secure his head. I can't rattle his brain, knocking him out is hard. I can damage his equilibrium, but knocking him out is hard. If I stagger the timing somewhat, I still get the damage to the equilibrium, I still get the damage to the eardrum, but I also get brain shake. So if you think about 1, 2, it's the exact same with 1, 2, and I'm just alternating the timings. Nice and simple. I'm getting the same great effects as the double hitrouchi, or some people call it thunderclap, but now that alternating in timing is really useful. But whatever you do, make sure you take the time to get good at firing a 1, 2, get the body behind it, hips, whatever. Get used to that, do it under duress, box, whatever. Then get used to getting students to have that same rhythm, same tenacity, same delivery of force into alternate tools. But my 2 favourites are edge of hand blow throat, edge of hand blow collarbone, or edge of hand blow throat, chin jab. Or making sure that you get that extra bit of stomping on the vertical edge of hand. I think that adds an extra special sauce, like a mama used to make. Hopefully you found that useful. It's a really interesting sport to draw from. Is boxing would have been very familiar to many of the people learning gutter fighting. So make sure you add in the safer tools, the more appropriate, the more precision tools, and you've got a nice, healthy, holistic mix for you to be training with. Hopefully something useful there.